Welcome to Samsara Sagas, where timeless stories of ancient wisdom come alive, one tale at a time. The Elephant and the Praying Pebet. This is a folktale from Manipur, in the lush northeastern hills of India, a land where forests breathe with bamboo, orchids, and monsoon mist. At the heart of this story is a tiny bird called the pebet, fragile in size but fierce in spirit. In Manipuri folklore, the pebet is often a symbol of resilience, a creature small enough to be overlooked, yet strong enough to challenge even the mightiest. At the edge of a dense forest, where bamboo groves swayed with the wind and wild orchids clung to the branches, lived a small bird, a pebet. Her nest was snug on a thorny bush, woven with grass and leaves, lined with downy feathers she had plucked herself. Inside lay her treasure, a clutch of eggs and 2 tiny chicks, their eyes still half closed to the light. For the pebet, each sunrise was both hope and prayer that her fragile family would survive another day in a world of giants. One morning, the forest trembled. The ground shook as a herd of elephants made their way along the trail, their huge bodies moving like rolling hills, each step pressing into the damp earth with a sound like thunder. Dust rose in swirls, birds scattered, and the pebet's little chicks pressed close to her. "Mother, the elephants! They'll crush us!" they cried. Her heart pounding, the pebet rose into the air and fluttered before the herd. "Oh, mighty ones," she pleaded, her voice thin against their trumpeting. "My nest lies just ahead, holding my little ones and unhatched eggs. Please, tread with care. To you it may be nothing. To me, it's everything." The elephants slowed. Their wise leader raised his trunk, listening. With heavy grace, the herd shifted its path and passed by without harm. But at the rear came a young bull, head high, tusks sharp, his steps heavy with arrogance. He saw the trembling bird and sneered. "Why should I, the strongest in the forest, bow to a creature no bigger than a leaf? If your nest lies in my path, that's your folly, not mine." And with one cruel step, he crushed the bush, the nest, the chicks, the eggs, all gone in an instant. The pebet's cry cut through the forest like a blade of grief. She flew after the arrogant elephant, her voice breaking with fury and pain. "You think my smallness makes me powerless? You laugh at me today, but you will learn. Even the smallest can bring down the mighty." The bull only laughed, his trumpet echoing through the bamboo, and marched on. The pebet returned to the ruins of her nest. She wept, but she did not surrender. For 7 days and nights she prayed to Mother Laimorel, goddess of life, offering her grief, her helplessness, her plea for justice. And at dawn on the 7th day, the goddess appeared, her presence like morning light through mist, gentle yet fierce. She spoke softly. "Little one, grief tempts the heart toward fury, but vengeance alone will only deepen your loss. If repentance comes, let mercy guide you. If not, let justice take its course." With this blessing, the pebet set out with quiet resolve. She followed the arrogant bull. While he bathed in rivers or rested in shade, she struck, pecking his thick hide. Small wounds at first, barely felt, but wounds grew into sores. Sores bled. Flies came and maggots followed. The mighty elephant, once untouchable, staggered under weakness and pain. At last, he collapsed under a tree. His voice, once proud and scornful, trembled as he begged. "Spare me, little one. I was blind with pride. I mocked your life, not knowing its worth. Forgive me. I will change." The pebet hovered, torn between vengeance and compassion. Her chicks would never return. But she remembered the goddess's words, and she saw that mercy could transform what vengeance never could. So she chose the harder path. She gathered herbs from the forest floor, pressed them to his wounds, cooled his fever, and tended to him until strength returned. The elephant lived, but the arrogance in him had died. From then on, his power became protection, not destruction. He cleared the path gently, watched for nests, and guarded the little Pebet as though she were kin. And so the forest remembered them, the bird and the elephant, unlikely companions, bound by a truth whispering in the rustling bamboo, that pride can destroy, but humility can heal. Like every folktale, this one too carries more than just a story. Beneath the feathers of the Pebet and the pride of the elephant lie reminders for our own lives. Simple, quiet truths we often forget. Let's look at some they uncover. Small can be mighty. The Pebet was no match in size, but her persistence was her power. What seems insignificant, a word, a gesture, a daily choice, can gather weight over time and move mountains. In our lives too, it's rarely the one big leap that changes things, but quiet repetitions. The consistent effort at work, the kind word that softens a relationship, the small stand we take when it matters. Even the smallest voice can tip the balance if it refuses to stay silent. Because history and our own memories are rarely shaped by the flashy moments. They're shaped by the steady ones, the ones we keep showing up for. That's what turns small into mighty. Grief can harden or weaken. Loss comes to all of us, but what we do with it shapes who we become. The Pebet's grief could have soured into rage. Instead, she turned it into prayer, resolve, and a different kind of strength. And isn't that true for us? A setback in our career, the end of a friendship, the sudden absence of someone we love. Grief has the power to either close us down or crack us open. If we let it awaken us, grief can become a surprising source of clarity, depth, and resilience. We may not get to choose what breaks us, but we can choose whether those cracks let in bitterness or whether they let in light. Forgiveness takes more courage than revenge. The Pebet had a chance to finish her enemy. No one would have blamed her. Yet it took far greater strength to lay down her fury and choose to heal. Forgiveness isn't soft. It's fierce. It transforms the story, the other, and ourselves. It's easy to strike back, in an argument at home, in an office conflict, or in the silent scorekeeping we do with friends. It feels harder, almost impossible to forgive. But sometimes, forgiveness is the only act that breaks the cycle. It doesn't erase the hurt, but it stops the hurt from owning us. And in choosing mercy, we don't excuse the wrong. We simply refuse to let it define us or decide the ending of our story. This was The Elephant and the Praying Pebet, a tale from Samsara Sagas, where ancient Indian stories whisper timeless truths to modern souls. While the story ends here, the journey continues within you.